Rabbeinu, Schomre Tatz. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to the Schomre Torah. And although we have not even started the Chodesh Shvat, but you know, happy occasions should be celebrated whenever they arise. So I'm very happy also to speak about Purim, and I think especially in these difficult times that Jewish people is going through, it can't harm to have a shiur about Purim behind the mask. I'm sure it's not only going to be very funny, but very deep. Thank you.
So thank you very much for this opportunity to learn a bit together. Thanks to the Rabbi, with the Rabbi's permission. Thanks to the Nordman family as well for inviting us and hosting us. And I'd like to speak about an aspect of Purim, and that is the question of laughter. Laughter? Laughing? What's laughing in general? So that is an aspect of Purim, but it's a deep aspect of Jewish thinking altogether. Very, very unusual subject. You won't find many sources on it. And I'd like to tell you what I heard from Rav Moshe Shapiro, one of the great thinkers of the last generation. And this is work that he did himself, based on sources, as you'll see, but there's a lot of creative work there. Is that okay? Can we do that? Everyone understand my English? Yes? I can speak Afrikaans if that helps. No? English is better? So, you find that the theme of laughter is mentioned many times in Torah. You have Az Yemale Schok Pin, right? Which means in the age of the final redemption, our mouths will be full of laughter. It does not only mean we'll be happy. There's something unique about laughter which is relevant to the redemption. That needs to be understood. You also have some very peculiar statements about laughter. For example, when we speak of a woman of spiritual greatness, we say Vatischak leyom achar. Vatischak leyom. She laughs at the day of death. You know the seat there? The seats. A woman of spiritual greatness can laugh at the day of death. That's a very, very strange statement. Why is it a woman uniquely who can do that? And also, why is it traditional to sing that to our wives on Leil Shabbos? When Shabbos is coming in, that comes through. So, this subject, we have even stranger things. Yoshev Hashemayim Yitzchak. Hashem, who sits in heaven, is laughing. Hashem Hilag Lama. That means that's a mocking laughter. Hashem is laughing at the wicked because whatever they do to destroy will turn out in the end to be something very different. But there's clearly a theme of laughter, even Hashem laughing. That needs to be understood. What does that mean? So to work out a subject like this, to understand a subject like this, we have a principle. The principle is that everything in the material world is projected from the spiritual world. That's an axiom. Everything in the spiritual world, technically speaking in Hashem's name, is manifest in our world. Are we allowed to mention Kabbalah? According to Kabbalah, we know that Hashem puts everything into His name that He wishes to project into the world. So every aspect of the world is a projection of something from His name. And everything in His name is projected into the world. There's a one-to-one correspondence with everything that He wishes to express in Himself and in His Torah and the world. Just to make this a little bit more clear, we know that the world and the Torah parallel each other exactly. Right? If you would imagine depends on your age, if this will work for you, but if you imagine a movie that's being screened on a screen, right? They shine a light through a film, and that projects itself onto a screen. I know today it's done digitally, but that's how it was traditionally done, right? Which means there's a correspondence between what's on the film and what's on the screen. An exact correspondence. The Torah is like the film, that Hashem's light is shone through the Torah, and it projects itself onto the screen. Everything in the Torah appears in the world, and everything in the world appears in Torah. Think about the Hebrew word for davar. Davar means a word, and it means an object. Every object in the world is a projection of the word. Hashem created the world by speaking it into existence. Other languages not like that. Not even Swiss German. But in Hebrew, which is called Lashon Kodesh, every word corresponds exactly to the thing that it creates. Which means that you can study the Torah and you'll know the world. Or you can study the world and you'll know the Torah. Avraham Avinu, Abraham, figured out the whole Torah from looking at the world. He reverse engineered what the Torah must be. Shlomo Melech, King Solomon, who lived after the Torah was given, figured out the world from the Torah. The Medrash says he planted crops in Yerushalayim that don't grow there. But spiritually he knew the lines of energy that run from Yerushalayim to every part of the world, and on those lines he planted the crops that grow there, and they grew in Yerushalayim. So if you know the Torah, you know the world. If you know the world, you know the Torah. And therefore, all you need to know is the word, and if you understand it in depth, you'll know the object. As an aside, Rabbi Dessler used to point out that if there's something that has no word in Torah, the thing must be an illusion. By the way, if something's not clear, then I'm saying you'll stop. Right? If there's something that's not mentioned in Torah and you see it in the world, it's illusory. Someone's painted it up on the screen, but it's not being projected from the source. For example, words like etiquette, fun, chivalry, entertainment, romance. Right? We have a word for love in Hebrew. That's ahava, based on hav, which means to give. That's why loving is a product of giving, as Rav Dessler famously points out. Right? You love where you give, not where you get. That's why parents always love their children more than their children love the parents. Because the giving goes in that direction. But romance, what is romance? You're sitting in this room, this person walks in, suddenly think everything goes pink. Music starts playing. What is that? After you get married, about 2 days after you get married, the point is that, or take a word like adventure. What's adventure in German? Adventure. That means doing something thrilling and dangerous for the sake of the fact that it's thrilling and dangerous. We don't have a word for that. What sort of person ties a rubber rope to his ankle and leaps off a cliff to see if he can, how close he can come to be? We have a word for that in Hebrew. Meshuga. So the principle is that any word in Torah defines an object in the world. By the way, the Rambam says that we call it Lashon Kodesh because it's a clean language. In Hebrew, you cannot be vulgar. That's why it's called Lashon Kodesh. In Hebrew, if you want to talk about naked parts of the body or physiological functions that are vulgar, you can't do it in Hebrew. If you want to do that really bad in Hebrew, you have to speak Arabic. Yes. But in Kabbalah, it's called the holy language because the words mean what they say. Okay, so it means that everything in the spiritual world projects itself into our world of experience. Now, anything we experience in our world is there to teach you about that world. That's why it's here. It can be anything. For example, take being homesick. Homesick? What do you call it? Why do you get homesick? So if you ask a scientist, they'll tell you because a few million years ago when you were a pigeon, but the reason is your neshama is longing for the place that it came from. The neshama is longing for its home. So it projected into the world of your experience as homesickness. But it's there to teach you something very deep. And every human experience is designed to be a projection of something in the spiritual world. And the only way you will ever understand Hashem is through experience in the world. The only two tools you have are the world and the Torah. And from that you project it back to its source. Now, if we have something called laughter, it must be teaching us something about the higher world. And if the Torah says that Hashem laughs,